Social media has given us no shortage of drama over the years, but every once in a while, a feud breaks out that captures attention far beyond the usual gossip circles. That's exactly what happened when Martell unleashed his most emotional rant to date, laying his feelings bare in a way that fans could not look away from. But what really set this situation apart was Melody's response, or rather, how little she said. With just 4 words, she flipped the entire conversation, reframed the story, and left the internet buzzing with memes, debates, and analysis for days. Today, we're diving into the full story: what led up to Martell's rant, why Melody's reply hit so hard, how fans and insiders reacted, and what this tells us about relationships, boundaries, and the way social media magnifies every conflict. If you've been following along, you already know this isn't just a fight. It's a saga. And if you're new, don't worry. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why those 4 little words left such a massive impact. To understand why this feud hit so hard, you have to go back and look at the bigger picture. Melody and Martell have a complicated history, full of ups and downs, private struggles, and public clashes. Fans who've followed them for years have seen glimpses of their dynamic play out in ways that are sometimes tender, sometimes tense, and increasingly unpredictable. For months leading up to the explosion, people had already noticed signs of trouble. It wasn't always obvious. There were no screaming matches captured on live streams or giant public blow-ups. Instead, it was the little things. A carefully worded caption that seemed to take aim at someone, a subtle eye roll in a video clip, or a cryptic story that made followers wonder if there was more going on than met the eye. In today's social media culture, fans act like detectives. They take screenshots, compare timelines, and connect dots that the people involved may never have intended to be connected. And when it came to Melody and Martell, the fan theories were in overdrive. Some swore they were drifting apart. Others speculated about jealousy and unresolved feelings. The truth, as always, was more complicated, but the signs of tension were building, quietly and steadily. That quiet tension exploded when Martell decided he'd had enough of keeping things private. His post wasn't subtle. It wasn't coded. It was raw, emotional, and unfiltered. He wrote about feeling overlooked, about jealousy, and about being sidelined. His words carried frustration, longing, and more than a little bitterness. This wasn't just a single outburst. It was a flood of emotion that made it clear these feelings had been simmering for a long time. You could read between the lines and sense the history behind it. Missed opportunities. Misunderstood intentions. Times when he felt he had something to say but chose silence, only for that silence to eat away at him until he finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Fans immediately split into camps. Some praised him for finally being vulnerable, arguing that men are often criticized for keeping emotions bottled up, so the fact that he shared so openly was a sign of growth. Others said it was immature and irresponsible, that instead of handling things privately, he chose the most dramatic option, going public. Either way, Martell's post couldn't be ignored. It was trending across platforms within hours. Screenshots spread, fan accounts reposted it, and suddenly, Martell's emotional outpouring wasn't just a moment, it was the conversation of the day. What made Martell's rant sting wasn't just what he said, it was the weight behind it. People knew this wasn't about one fight or one misunderstanding. Insiders hinted that this was part of a much longer pattern. Behind closed doors, there had been private messages left unanswered, conversations that ended badly, and moments of tension that had never fully healed. Friends of the two even hinted that Martell had been struggling with feeling pushed aside for a long time. Maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe it was a mix of miscommunication, insecurity, and timing. But in his eyes, these small slights built into something huge. And once he chose to air it out publicly, there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. Because here's the thing about social media. Once you hit post, you're no longer in control of the story. The fans take over, the blogs jump in, the influencers analyze every word, and suddenly, a personal conflict becomes a public spectacle. While all of this was happening, Melody stayed quiet. She didn't rush to clap back. She didn't post cryptic responses or try to defend herself in the heat of the moment. And that silence was powerful in itself. Fans started speculating about what she might be thinking. Was she hurt? Was she angry? Was she just ignoring it altogether? But here's the thing about Melody, she's always been calculated. She doesn't pick battles recklessly. She knows the value of timing, and she understands that sometimes the best response is no response, at least for a while. Her silence created suspense. It made people lean in closer, waiting to see what she would say, if anything. And then, when she finally did respond, she dropped a bombshell. Not a long post, not an essay, just 4 words. You had your chance. That was it. Simple, sharp, final. And yet, those 4 words carried more history, more meaning, and more impact than Martell's entire post. They weren't just about shutting down his rant. They were about drawing a boundary. They were about saying, I will not keep entertaining this cycle. I've given what I could, and now the door is closed. Fans erupted. Within minutes, screenshots of her reply spread everywhere. Reaction videos popped up. Memes were made. People started using her words in their own posts, turning them into a catchphrase. It wasn't just a response, it was a cultural moment. The internet loves a good clapback, but what made this different was the balance between simplicity and weight. Melody didn't need to insult. She didn't need to explain herself. She didn't need to rant back. She kept it clean, but the message was crystal clear. After Melody's response, the conversation shifted completely. Suddenly, Martell's emotional post wasn't the focus anymore. Her reply was. Influencers praised her composure. Commentators pointed out how her restraint made her look stronger, while his rant looked messy by comparison. Fans debated the psychology of it all. Some said Melody's words were proof of her emotional intelligence, while others wondered if she was being too dismissive of Martell's vulnerability. But regardless of the interpretation, the impact was undeniable. She had taken control of the narrative. Of course, what fans see online is only part of the story. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered about late-night conversations, ignored texts, and unresolved feelings that had been piling up for months. Some even suggested that Martell's rant wasn't just about jealousy in the moment, it was the result of a long-term pattern of feeling left out or unacknowledged. This wasn't just one bad day. It was the culmination of years of history, of personal struggles, and of 2 people who had been caught in cycles of misunderstanding for far too long. And while fans only got a glimpse, those closest to the situation knew there was so much more under the surface. What makes this feud fascinating isn't just the drama. It's what it reveals about communication in the digital age. Social media has turned private conflicts into public theater. Every caption, every emoji, every silence gets dissected. Fans act like detectives. Influencers act like analysts. And the people at the center of it all find themselves under a microscope where even the smallest word carries huge weight. Melody's response became a case study in boundary setting. Commentators compared it to other iconic celebrity clapbacks. Relationship coaches even pointed to it as an example of clear communication. Meanwhile, Martell's rant sparked conversations about emotional expression, vulnerability, and the risks of oversharing. The fallout also reshaped how people saw both of them. For Martell, the rant came across as messy, emotional, and reactive. Some sympathized with him, but many felt his public airing of grievances made him look weaker, less composed. For Melody, the opposite was true. Her calm, firm response elevated her image. She became the person in control, the one setting the terms of the conversation. This contrast was powerful. In a way, it wasn't just a fight between 2 people, it was a battle of narratives, and Melody won that battle decisively. But here's the thing, this saga is far from finished. Insiders continue to hint at more behind-the-scenes drama, messages we haven't seen, apologies that didn't land, moments that might still come to light. Fans speculate endlessly about whether Melody's words closed the door for good, or if this feud is only entering a new chapter. Every new post, every silence, every subtle gesture will be analyzed through the lens of this conflict. And in the fast-moving world of social media, all it takes is one new message to reignite the fire. At its core, this isn't just a feud between 2 people. It's a story about timing, strategy, and the power of words. Martell poured out pages of emotion, but Melody's 4 words carried more impact than all of it. In doing so, she reminded the world that sometimes less really is more. Her response was about boundaries, about clarity, about refusing to let someone else's chaos define your narrative. And that's why it resonated far beyond the immediate fan base. It became a cultural conversation about respect, communication, and emotional intelligence in the age of social media. So the big question is this: what happens next? Does Martell reflect and move forward, or does he double down? Does Melody maintain the high ground, or will new revelations drag her back into the conversation? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, this story has already left its mark. So, what do you think? Was Martell brave for speaking his truth or reckless for making it so public? And did Melody's 4 words put an end to the feud or just open the door to an even deeper saga? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to hear what side you're on. And of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next update in this ongoing story.